Right. Now, in the last, I guess ever since COVID started and the first shutdown, if you remember rightly, our next guest has been prominent in challenging the authorities and the power that he claims that they have usurped unto themselves. If you like that, a little biblical thing, usurped unto themselves, as a result of utilising a public health emergency to remove rights from us, God-given rights, I might add. And so he's entered the political fray, and as I understand, the co-leader of the new Freedoms Coalition Party, which I think he co-leads, we're about to find out, with Sue Gray, the former leader, or probably still is leader, of the Outdoors Party. Joining us to talk about what his particular role is and also his views on free speech and on this election campaign is Pastor Brian Tamaki, or Bishop Brian Tamaki, and he joins us now. Bishop Brian, welcome to the show. Lovely to talk to you.
Hi, Michael. Good to talk to you too. Brian will be okay.
Brian, okay. Well, I suppose you're in your political, not in your you're in your secular, not in your sacerdotal title, aren't you?
Well, you know, it doesn't really matter. Most people know what I stand for.
That's true.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, the Destiny Church formed the organisation that they have, and you've joined the Freedom Coalition. Are you the co-leader, Brian, along with Sue Gray, or the leader?
Yeah, we're co-leaders of the Freedoms New Zealand umbrella. So that umbrella was originally formed to unite the small parties. That was way back sometime when they had the by-election in Tauranga.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was my initial involvement, was to hopefully we could, you know, get these small parties together and turn the protest movement into a political party that would represent the values of a good portion of the population. But that's been a bit of a tough job.
Yeah, no, I understand your sentiment, but yeah, a whole series of people have split off in a whole series of different directions. So there's three of you, though, three parties, isn't there? There's your own, was it the Destiny?
There's no own. There's Vision New Zealand.
Vision New Zealand, yeah.
Yeah, and then there's the Outdoors and Freedom Party, that's Sue Gray. There is the Rock the Vote New Zealand, that's basically unregistered Aotearoa New Zealand, Direct Democracy. So you've got a few there, the unregistered, registered, and then the organisations also have come under.
So explain to me, Brian, as co-leader with Sue, do you talk about both policy development and about political action and have to agree to it before either one of you does anything?
Well, kind of a bit of both, really. We've tried to make it free-flowing so that when parties join, they don't lose their identity and they still, you know, especially if they've got candidates in the particular electorates, they're free to campaign. But it's the collective or the combination of all parties, the party vote going into the umbrella. That was the whole purpose of doing this, to get across the 5% threshold.
No, I understand well the strategy. What I'm saying, though, is that in terms of policy development, in terms of political action, do both of you have to agree before something happens?
No. Well, they have their own policies, but yes, we do. We have to agree with basically the policies, which are flagship policies for Freedom New Zealand. All the parties agree with those.
Right.
Better freedoms, better finances, better future, and better families. So under those, you have all those points that we talk about, you know, that are very clear. They're out there. What can be out there when the media lets us get it out there. But I think they're very good.
Well, that's the next issue. So over the weekend, obviously, candidates from Freedom New Zealand have been portrayed by the New Zealand media as seeking to disrupt both the campaign launch of the Labour Party on Saturday, but also to disrupt Chris Hipkins when he's been making policy announcements as well. Is that a deliberate policy, Brian?
That's not a policy. That's what I call a freedom of democracy, isn't it, Michael? Well, I last woke up out of my bed, I thought New Zealand was a free country, even though many have been and had their freedoms tested and taken away. But I think at this time of the year, we should be putting the hard questions to the next, what we believe is the next government coming in and waiting, which is going to probably be National Act. And so with that, we believe that we put the hard questions to them. With Labour, same thing. They interrupted our lives for 6 years. We only interrupted them for about an hour.
Right. So, I understand. I thought you'd say that, and I actually have some sympathy for that viewpoint. I mean, after all, they arrested you, they charged you, they put you in prison.
Did you know that 6 people that went in there as plants all were mandated out of their jobs, lost their jobs, their businesses? So those are the ones that went inside and sat there, and at least they have some type of catharsis to the person, the very person at that time that was the Minister of the COVID Health Response Bill, to let them know what he did to their lives. And I think that was a very small portion of payback, really. I mean, they deserve a lot more, but this guy now denies the fact is that the government forced us into being mandated into vaccines, which is a further salt in the wound, don't you think, Michael?
Yeah, no. I don't have an awful lot of time for the mandate policy, and never did at the time. Talked about it way back in 2020, how this country had gone mad, and there's nothing that I've... Yeah. No, but I don't have a problem with that. It's just that I want to see how you've reconciled this, though, with freedom of speech, because you're trying, in the Hipkins case on Saturday, to disrupt his address. Do you believe that he's entitled to give an address to get his message out there?
Everybody is. I mean, but you're also entitled to have your say. And that's something that's been taken away from the citizens of this country terribly in those last 5 to 6 years by that same person you're talking about. I think it's a bit rich to be questioning me and the team that's out there only a small portion of the time that we have, and it's election, it's campaign time, to be able to put across our point of view and to put the hard questions and ask these politicians, making them accountable to the answers they give to us and what they're going to give to us. So I think it's silly that we're even questioning. I don't understand why more New Zealanders are not taking advantage of freedom of speech and in a free country, in a democracy, to be questioning these people. I mean, our political campaign has been disgusting, really, in the past. We have 2 dominant parties get together and they throw out lollies, promising us all the whole world, they'll do this and do that. And we all know they break half of those promises, or more than half of them, and they don't keep their word. And then when they get our votes, they forget the voter. And I think a lot of Kiwis would agree with that. And so
yes, they
why
would
not be out there?
No, that's fine. So your essential argument is we are practicing free speech, and that disrupting the rallies of established parties who get plenty of media coverage anyhow, thanks very much, is an exercise, and you are allowed to criticise because, as you say, the 6 people that were at the Hipkins rally on Saturday were, in the main, people who have directly suffered as a consequence of that government's policies, correct?
Yep. Headed the police Allen. She picked up that whole aspect of it when she got a hold of us and asked who are those people. And we told them these were people who were directly affected by those mandates. And we said, well, you should be the ones that go in there, and at the right time, you tell Helen Clark, Mr. Hipkins and the rest of the Labour people there, the party, just exactly what happened to your lives, ruined your lives, lost your businesses, affected forever, about their direction in life. So, yeah, I just think, Kiwis have got to be a bit more colourful, a bit more vocal. Don't just let them walk through us and let them tell us what they're going to do. We're supposed to be telling the politicians what we want them to do.
No.
They represent us.
I understand your point of view. The reason you're on the show is because you haven't been given the opportunity to explain the tactics of Saturday and Sunday, and I wanted to get some understanding as to what they were, and the logic and the rationale you use. I understand what you're saying. I guess the question...
Some of your listeners don't, though.
Well, I don't know. But can I just say, Wayne, here you are. I mean, this is what freedom of speech is about. It's about listening to everybody in a political context, not just a few voices.